Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports? Now on with the show.
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years.
So get ready! Get ready! Are you ready for some football?
You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. A weekly podcast about sports since 2011. With a focus on football. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffauf.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffauf.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
And I'm going to turn the talking topic over to you, Justin, because we're continuing our NCAA 14 Football Dynasty Year 5 FAU Owls, and I'm up first here in Game 3 of this fifth season. We're coming off a loss to number 1 Oklahoma, 14-7. We're going to play Hawaii tonight and then Alabama, which is a huge game for us. That one is at home, and we're hosting a bunch of recruits. But, yeah, I'm going to head up there and play offense, and you're going to get started on our topic, which, by request, is going to be Penn State athletics. We'll talk probably wrestling here.
Okay.
Women's hockey, just wanted to mention that they're in the Frozen Four tournament, which is awesome.
Yeah.
They were so excited to make it, and it's awesome to see. Men struggled a little bit this year, but women's team was excellent. Won the CHA for back-to-back season and get to be in the Frozen Four tournament. That's awesome. We'll talk wrestling, and then we'll focus on football like we usually do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people enjoyed us talking about that last week. So I'll get you started with why don't you start with the wrestling team, how they did in Big Tens.
Yeah, the team absolutely dominated the Big Ten championships that were in Maryland this weekend. They had 7 wrestlers make it to the finals, which is just absolutely absurd.
And it probably would have been 8.
Yeah, and arguably the best wrestler, if not one of the top couple on the team, is
Probably with Aaron or Levi.
Or Greg. Yeah.
Sorry,
It's hard to pick. Yeah. But Carter Strachey had an unfortunate injury at the very end of his last match of the regular season against Edinburgh. In a tech fall. Like, he dominated the guy. But he got hurt at the very end, got helped off. There was a lot of speculation as to what was going to happen. There's a lot of speculation over how it went down at the tournament this weekend by multiple accounts, including Cale Sanderson, which is the only, like, real
one that matters.
Right, and the only, like, true, like, person inside that has spoken to it. He said Carter wanted to wrestle, and they basically said no.
Not worth it.
Right, it's not worth it. You've got bigger things in 2 weeks. And he said, again, this is just what Cale said to reporters yesterday. Just, Carter being Carter, he's not happy with that. But these guys are ultra competitive, right? Like,
You kind of have to be.
right, you have to be to be a Division I athlete. You have to be, right? Like, any Division I athlete has to be like that.
Right.
And then throw on top of that, like, you're not going to find too many, like, passive wrestlers,
No.
right? Like that's just
interesting breed.
right. And again, to be that, like, it is the sport where you are out there. It is all you against one other person. Like it takes a different mindset to do that. So you can't just like flip that off and on, right? Hopefully he's able to regroup. It sounds like if he thought he was okay to go in this one, give him 2 more weeks, which is the thinking of Penn State. Give him 2 more weeks, and he should really be ready to go. I was talking to my dad. It'll be interesting because he will not be an automatic qualifier, but he is. You can pencil him in for an at-large bid right now, yeah. But imagine being that guy who, you think you're going to have a pretty even matchup in your first match or whatever, and you end up getting like the top at-large bid coming against you in the first round. 3-time national champion Carter Strachey.
Wouldn't be the way I want to go out. But.
Right. So anyway, so hopefully Carter can get back. But all that being said, Carter was out. So Penn State was only wrestling 9 guys. 7 made it to the finals, and 2 made it to the third place matches. Right, lost in their semifinals.
Right. So there was 5 first place, 2 second place, and 2 third place.
Yes. Yeah. So Penn State ended up taking 5 of the 10 total champions, which is insane. And then they had 2 guys lose. And then 2 guys won their matches earlier today in the consolation brackets and won their other ones. And I believe both of our third place guys pinned their guys in the third place bouts, which is just absurd. And so anyway, Penn State is going to qualify someone at all 10 weight classes, which hasn't happened for a few years. Or I shouldn't say that. 125 has been a bit of it has been the weak spot on the roster for a few years. And now we had a true freshman go against the 6th-year senior and beat him. Yeah, wow. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, so Braden Davis won at 125. That was pretty incredible. Yeah, he had he had 2 sudden victory wins on his way to the championship. And his ability to just kind of be defensive, but man, he likes to attack. He likes to keep going, which is fun to watch.
I have a question about Carter.
Yeah.
Did you ever figure out what the difference was between like pulling out before the match started?
So somebody said like depending on like how it works, it doesn't quote unquote count against you as like a loss or something when it comes to like seeding or something. It's really weird.
Okay. I figured there had to be a reason.
Because his streak ends. His streak of like he had won like 63 or 64 straight matches.
Right.
That ends. But I think it comes to like I don't know exactly what the difference is, but yeah, there is a difference as opposed to him like just not being there and then forfeiting. It's one of those odd wrestling things.
Like a medical DNF.
Yeah, some more like that. Yes. But yeah, hopefully he can come back and be fired up. We've seen that before with Penn State guys. And yeah, so as you go through like some of the other champions, so we talked about Braden Davis at 125.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to go in weight class order, but if you can.
Right, I'm just trying to think. Levi Haynes won. And he was really good again. He won the national title last year as a freshman. Or maybe he didn't win, but he went to the national title as a freshman.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But like, yeah, really good freshman for us. Mitchell Messenbrink, another freshman. So Braden Davis is a freshman. Mitch Messenbrink won, and he won in dominant fashion.
Yeah, he looked good. He's a freshman, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, and he.
Red shirt or true?
I think a red shirt.
Okay.
Only because they mentioned over and over again how many times they mentioned that Braden Davis is a
True.
a true freshman. That makes me think Messenbrink isn't.
Yeah, so it was a great showing from Penn State in the Big Ten championship. So they won it now back-to-back years. Even with their dominance in the national stage, they haven't always won the Big Ten championship.
No, what is it? They've won.
Is this their like?
the last 13 national championships?
Yeah, but only like 6 of the last 13 Big Tens or something.
This is only their 8th Big Ten, and they're all under Kale.
Right. So, but like you and I always say back and forth. But I mean, obviously everyone's thinking it. Yeah, would it be nice to win both? The dual championship and the postseason, the tournament championship. Yeah, but as long as you're the last team standing in March, the one with the most points at the end of March, that's all that matters.
Correct.
And Penn State is poised to do big things on the mat in 2 weeks.
If Carter is back and somewhat healthy, Penn State could be going after the scoring record at NCAA championship.
Yeah, that's the thought. And I know you said they set a Penn State record for team points in the Big Ten championships. I don't know for sure if they set the Big Ten team record. For some reason, because they scored, 170.5, was it?
Yeah.
For some reason, I want to say someone scored 174 before.
It could be.
But I don't know that for certain. But great showing. Could have been even better if Carter went through, because it's tough for us to think that he would have been upset.
Probably wins.
Right.
And
along
worst takes second.
right. So along the way, that's guaranteed to be at least 9 more points, 12 more points.
Right. Yeah.
And to think he wouldn't get bonus somewhere,
Right.
So you're talking probably in the 180s. Oh, nice. So yeah, we're looking forward to NCAA wrestling championships in 2 weeks from now. We should know when we're on the air to do our baseball preview. We could be celebrating yet another Penn State national championship.
Yeah, this is the shirt from 2 years ago.
I
I have the one.
How many more updates do we need here?
Yeah, I've got the one. Well, Austin was asking. He's like, do we get shirts for this? And I'm like, no, we buy shirts in 2 weeks. But hopefully.
Right.
So, yeah, it was just another dominant showing. And, again, they had 2 guys take second place. Truax, who has been an All-American before. Bo, who's been an All-American before. So, I like those guys. Bo is going to contend for a national title. Truax, to me, if he out wrestled his seed. So like, right. So it could be exciting. If our guys, Flow Wrestling will put this out. But like, if our guys wrestle to their seeds, now Starachi is going to be a miss there. But if our guys wrestle to their seeds, Penn State will win the national championship running away. Michigan did not have a good showing today. They had a good showing up until today. Did not have a good showing today.
So I believe Messenbrink won Freshman of the Year, didn't he?
He did.
And Kale was named Coach of the Year.
And Aaron Brooks was Wrestler of the Year and Wrestler of the Tournament, like most outstanding
so
in the
Brooks
tournament.
got it over, not for tournament, but for Wrestler of the Year, Brooks got it over.
Yes.
Carter. I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're both like phenomenal.
Right.
Not really something you can take away, but.
Well, and he's also going for his 4th national championship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And became the 3rd Penn Stater to win 4 Big Ten titles. Yep.
So.
With David Taylor and Ed Ruth, whose brother won for Illinois today.
Oh, so we get him transferring next year?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So I could be wrong on this, but I thought I read somewhere that Kale's got 11 of the last 13 national championships, but he's only won Big Ten Coach of the Year a few times.
Yes. So
Hey, he got it this year, so.
right. And honestly, to be fair, like, I'm kind of surprised the guy from Nebraska didn't get it, because they overachieved and did really well this year. Like, that's a perfect example, one of those where, like, Kale's not going to get credit that he's due necessarily. It's hard to say that, because everyone just regards him as kind of like the best. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not a slight, but at the same time, I feel like sometimes they give, they give it to somebody who's doing more with less.
I think a few of Penn Staters got the better of the Nebraska players. Was it Pinto and Allred?
Yeah, and Pinto beat Truex in the
In the
regular
duel.
season duel, and Pinto's from East Stroudsburg, so like Stroudsburg area. So,
Nice.
Yeah, why he's not for us?
No, I know. Yeah, it's frustrating. I remember watching that one because that was a pretty hard fought duel that Penn State ended up winning by like 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I saw him get
Nebraska
announced,
routed Michigan and they beat Iowa in the duels.
Yeah.
I think they beat Iowa. They might have ended up losing to Iowa, like a close one, but.
so another successful season already for Penn State wrestling. But honestly, if you don't win the national title, it would be deemed a failure. You know.
And this is the thing.
I thought you had it.
Yeah. This is the thing that's crazy. So, like, Haynes is going to be a 1 seed. Kirklet will be a 1 seed, I would imagine.
What's
Brooks is going to be a 1 seed, so there's at least 3.
so what's the highest Carter can be then?
See, I don't know how that works because I don't know. So it could be like basketball where there's automatic qualifiers, but that doesn't guarantee you a seed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know, you could upset someone in the tournament.
Right.
You know, you get just like Providence upsetting UConn or something like that.
Right. But he won't be the 1 seed.
Okay, so he could possibly be like the 3 or 4 though, maybe.
I think he's going to be closer to like maybe. Well,
You think he's gonna be like 6?
He could be.
Oh my gosh, that would be. I don't know if that'd be.
See, I'd rather him be 6, the opposite of whoever they put at 1. You know what I mean?
See, I don't know enough about the weight classes around the country to know who's going to be now slotted higher.
When I think they have meetings and like everybody kind of gets together and like fights for their guys and stuff like that. It's
like the Berks County basketball playoffs.
I think it's
So like
more similar to that than
seeds and then the coaches
Right.
all say yay or nay.
right.
Interesting.
Well, and man, I think I've told you old stories from some of my other coaching adventures where some coaches would be arguing for a guy and the people I'm coaching with are like, listen, that's fine, but they would not. No, they're not better than the guys on our team. You know.
Always an interesting thing to debate about
Right.
that.
Right, and it's tough because like, how do you argue against it without sounding like a jerk?
Right.
But
all due respect, but
Right,
this
right.
team is clearly not as good as my team.
Right.
Or this team that we lost, you know, however you look at it.
right, but that's just kind of how it goes. Yeah. So great showing for wrestling. Hopefully they can continue that to next week, or sorry, 2 weeks from now. I did point out to you. I think I pointed out to you. Yeah, that State College Area High School had 3.
Do you know if they won?
I do not know. I didn't follow it as closely. I was kind of following how the Wilson guys did.
Yeah.
Which they got 3 guys on the podium, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great showing. Great Wilson wrestling team.
Yeah.
Great
So
season from them. 3 in the top 8 in the state.
yeah, which is
Few
and
district
like,
region champs.
and Pennsylvania is the hardest like for wrestling. Now I say that the only one I would even really listen to.
What, Iowa?
No, I'm actually going to go California because they don't separate by classification.
Oh,
It is just one big one.
they only crowned 1 champ?
They crown 1 champ at each weight class in California, which just by sheer size is just insane. You'll still have a lot of people will put Pennsylvania over it. And there are lots of really good ones. Iowa's very good, but again, the size is going to hurt Iowa. But Ohio is very good. You know, so a lot of those Midwestern states are going to be really strong.
So last night, Kelly was watching a TikTok, and it was, now I can't remember who it was. Oh, it was Kylie Kelsey hanging out and competing with the U.S. women's national team field hockey team.
Oh yeah.
And I said, oh, do you know the players' names? And she's like, they gave her the names, and she said it, but it was only the first names. And I was like, because over the last few years, I've learned that, like, the hotbed for field hockey is South Central Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I was like, I think nearly a third or maybe even close to a half of the women's national team, like the Olympic national team, are from South Central Pennsylvania.
Do you know where the U.S. team is based out of?
Is it down in Lancaster, like near Spooky Nook? Yeah. So, and it's just so funny to me because it's not like, I mean, we're quote close to Philadelphia or Harrisburg or even like you could say Baltimore. Like this South Central PA area is not that far from these cities, but it's not based in some major city around the country. It's all from essentially Harrisburg to Reading down to Lancaster, York, like that area produces so many fantastic field hockey players. It's really awesome because I was wondering if one of them.
District 11, or wait, is that?
No, 11's Allentown.
Yeah, so 11, 3, and 1.
Yeah.
It's going to be like all, like it's a hotbed. And a lot of that's 11 and 3.
Yeah. So,
With an emphasis on 3.
well, you got up in 11, Emmaus is the big one.
Right, yes.
Wilson's had a pretty good run the last few years.
So like Ole.
But Ole Valley, which produced the one that I was trying to see if it was her, Sophia Gladia.
Yeah.
Fia that plays for Penn State and was, I believe, freshman of the year like 3 years ago, and just a fantastic all-around player. Actually, the one like field hockey game I took the girls to in 2019, 2020, I forget when it was. It was Wilson Ole Valley in the county championship, and I'm pretty sure Sophia had like all the points for Ole Valley beating Wilson. But it was just funny that pops up. She's like, "Oh, look, Kylie Kelsey can do anything," and I was like, "Wait, is she with the women's national team?" And we just had that discussion.
Yeah, I think she played field hockey at Cabrini.
Kylie did.
Yeah.
Kelly asked me that. She's like, "She looks like an athlete." I'm like, she probably was.
She played at Cabrini.
Okay.
Yep.
So.
I'm like 95% sure it was Cabrini.
Yeah. Well, before we get off of mentioning Wilson athletes and students here, the best thing this weekend that happened with Wilson High School was the mini-thon event was this weekend. It was excellent as always. A lot of fun at the community hours Friday night from 6 to 9 p.m. The dancers, the fundraisers, the captains, the advisors all were on their feet from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And at the end, they got to announce that they raised over $98,000,
Incredible.
which I believe is their new record.
I think it is.
I know they have been in the like lower to mid 90s. I think 2 or 3 times in the past.
Yes.
Then the pandemic happened. It was 3 years to climb back out of it. But I think after last year, people were hopeful that they could get to 100,000, which has been the goal since getting to the 90-some thousands for 2 or 3 years in a row back in the late 2010s.
Yes, but they also have to be closing in on 1 million total.
Yeah, well, it's cool. I saw that they had banners for each year,
which was really cool.
with-
I just didn't pay enough attention.
Yeah, they had the 2 advisors, then the 3 or 4 like overall students in charge, and then the amount that was raised for 4 diamonds that each year that they've done it. Which I believe was this the 11th?
It's been a lot.
I think the first was 2014, so this would be the 11th because they did get one in 2020 because it was like the end of February, early March, and then everything shut down like a week or 2 later. So thankfully, Wilson Minithon never had to be skipped, and they've now done 11 great events. It seemed packed this year, Justin. I know I saw you and Adam there. A bunch of our friends, coaches, acquaintances. It's always great to see the community come out. It just seemed really full this year, and it was a great event. So kudos to the advisors. Is it Marconi and Rutt?
Yep.
And
and the kids, they just put so much
student
time and
overalls,
effort
yeah.
into everything. It's really cool to see. Just to see like so much hard work and effort and time put into something, and to be able to see like a tangible kind of like goal, it's just really cool.
It's great. I really enjoy that each year. Look forward to it. So
It's also a great experience, and I know this is way down there on the list of like things that make thon/mini-thon like really cool, but like the kids get an idea of what it takes to like pull off events,
Right,
and or to like reach out to companies or to do those things. And like, do they get it all right all the time? Like, no. But like, guess what? Learning to like talk to companies about like, hey, can you, are you interested in sponsoring, or like things like that's all great experience for high school kids to get, because now like the next time they do it, it won't be the first time they're doing it. Like things like that. So
Well, and they get, sales and fundraising and communication. And
yeah.
Learning how to organize events. I think one of the best things that I've seen them do, and they definitely did it this year, was they got to go up to
Yes.
Penn State.
Yeah.
And
Thon actually, like Penn State Thon actually sent out on their social media like a short video.
Like a reel or
Yeah.
something
Yep.
like that. Yeah, I saw that. So it's really cool. It's a great event. I remember, almost 20 years ago when I was involved, that mini-thons were starting, I think, to spread around the state. So it's cool to see where they've gone.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if mini-thons had started by then. It was around that time, I believe. But during Thon weekend, like my senior year in February of '07, when I was a rules and regulation captain, we had to have special pass for visitors to the event that were from other colleges to see how, like, they wanted to start their own
Okay. Yeah.
marathon, and they would bring representatives to see how we did things. And it's just so cool to see the event continue to grow and get better and trickle down to the high schools.
Well, and just like all the positive effects, like just being able to do that and get them connected with doing things for a good cause, and
Yeah,
it was cool.
All in. Like, everyone
Right.
seems to be having such a great time, and it's obviously an incredibly meaningful.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Ooh, well, I'm gonna have to punt here, Justin, or you can punt.
Okay.
At least we're already in the fourth quarter. Moving right along for our showdown with Alabama.
Right.
So I think that was it for women's ice hockey, wrestling, and the Wilson related stuff. So let's go back to Penn State football. We talked about it last week when we pretty much talked about everything. But we got a few requests that we talk more about Penn State football in 2024 here, because I think there's a lot of interest because of the expanded Big Ten with the new teams coming in, as well as the expanded college football playoff. So Penn State is working with 3 new coordinators because offensive coordinator Mike Yursich was fired after the loss to Michigan. Then Manny Diaz, the defensive coordinator, left for the head coach job at Duke. And then the special teams coordinator moved back to the university that he was brought to Penn State from, which was that Oregon, or
I don't remember.
oh now I can't. No, it wasn't Oregon, but so Stacy Collins, I believe, and Penn State needs a new special teams coordinator, and then obviously they filled all those positions. Kotelnicki is the offensive coordinator. He's the big one because people are very interested to see how Aller and the offense work this year.
People were excited about that hire.
People have been excited about every offensive coordinator hire.
Cautiously optimistic because I've been wrong on a few of these hires.
Yeah, I really thought Yursich was going to be the guy. I feel like I haven't been super happy with everything since Joe Moorhead.
Right.
And I would love the Kotelnicki to be, Moorhead 2.0 here. And get it done with Aller, and then probably Prabula, I'm guessing. I know they got Smolik, and they just brought in Grunkmeyer.
Well, and we'll see, because they're putting full court press on this kid from Springport.
Right, yeah. But I just think
But yeah,
because of how much they like Bo, and it was Bo's dream to be the Penn State quarterback, once Aller leaves, which could be this year.
well, listen.
After this year, I should say.
It sounds awful, but I think you'll know what I mean. I would love nothing more for than to Aller not be able to turn down the draft after this year.
Right.
Because that means he had
a great
an
year.
outstanding year.
Right.
Like, if he's like, oh, look, I gotta go, because then do it. Okay. that
Right.
means-
Everyone understands it. So seeing a quarterback leave after 3 years is not a big deal. It happens. You got to be prepared for it, and I think they are. Oh,
Oh,
man,
that was a fumble.
how is that not a fumble? So it kind of reminds me a bit of transition from Hackenberg to McSorley,
Yeah.
because Hackenberg was out of the playbook. He wasn't the best scheme for the Franklin offense. He had a great debut under O'Brien, struggled with Franklin for 2 years, and his growth was stunted. He didn't get to be the guy that people thought he would be.
And he got drafted by the Jets, so
Right, and then he had no shot in the NFL. But McSorley came in and relieved him in the bowl game. I believe he got hurt, and McSorley looked great.
Georgia, right?
But yeah,
Slayer Bowl or something.
and when he came in, I was just like, oh man, I don't know, like. This is the guy, like, people are recruiting him as a safety, and we're
Right.
going to roll with him. Well, he just became one of the most prolific Penn State quarterbacks ever with the 3 years that he had.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping now. I know Bo wouldn't get 3 years,
Right.
but
Hopefully.
I don't think that would even be possible.
Only if he got injured this year
Yeah,
and
well, we don't
like
want-
early
don't
and
want
got a
that,
medical
so.
redshirt, right? Yeah. So we'll see, but yeah, lots of retooling there. But it's kind of tough because they're still right. We're still in that spot where like a 10-win season is like, all right, that's good, but it just doesn't feel right.
Well, a 10-win season probably gets us into the college football
Oh,
playoff.
well, that's the thing. A 10-win season starts to feel different this year, I think.
Right. And we've been saying it for years as they've been discussing this expansion for at least 3 years, I think. And the teams like noted as being the most to gain from an expanded college football playoff based on recent seasons.
Right.
Penn State
Right. So
would have made the college football playoff with an expanded version. What was it, like 3 times or something? Like
yeah,
3 or 4
it might be
times
3 or
last
4
10 years
times.
or whatever?
Right. The problem, listen, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to talk myself into like if Penn State can make that expanded playoff this year, I'll talk myself into being super excited. All this stuff. The problem becomes is that just one more of these games that like we could have won but don't,
I would like to see it work out somehow, some way, because whoever wins the Big Ten is going to be a top 4 seed, unless something crazy happens.
Right. Unless you have oh my gosh.
Unless someone upsets someone in the Big Ten championship game or something.
Yeah, but even then it's hard because it's just the top 2 teams now in the Big Ten championship.
Oh, that's true.
It's not divisions.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about the way the divisions were set up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
what would be harder?
in theory, you could get maybe a 2-loss team in there, but you're probably not going to have a team with more than 2 losses in the Big Ten championship.
But what I wanted to say was I would like to see them force Penn State's hand and have Beaver Stadium have to host a game.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
You know,
That'd be so
that's
amazing.
the dream, right?
Yeah.
That's what everyone wants to do
Yes.
is host
Yeah.
a first round game.
Just
And have
imagine
those
like
two,
imagine like
5,
Penn
6, 7, 8
Penn State like hosting like LSU in
December.
in the middle of December at Beaver Stadium. Oh my gosh.
Rocked it. I'm going for it.
That's fine.
With a minute left in the fourth. I probably should have just run the ball there, but I'm not gonna fake it.
All right, Nick Sirianni.
I'm just going to trap. Up the
Yeah, so the thing is, like, I think we went through it last time. Penn State getting to 12 or no, getting to 10 wins is no guarantee.
That didn't work.
You know, and it's not going to be simple. So we'll have to see how it goes.
All right, I'm gonna pull up. Oh, my dad texted me here. I know he wanted to hear us talk more about Penn State. So, he said he heard rumors that the big conferences might get rid of championship games when they expand, or if they expand in 2026 to go to a 14 or 16 team playoff. I mean, I guess it's a possibility, but
So here's the thing. It's just going to come down to money. If the TV deal to do that for the conferences that for like the Big Ten and SEC is where this is really going to come in, right? If they throw enough money that like it would be more than what the Big Ten makes on that Big Ten championship game or the SEC championship game, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Then I could see that happening. I feel like there's a lot of money to be made in other places. Like they're already talking about, I think after this year,
they're going to start rotating the Big Ten championship between like Indy and Vegas, maybe.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think
with
I
the
did
West
hear about
Coast
that.
teams there, and just it's one of those places like, and thinking like USC could be in there some, and
So I'm glad we're going to get a win here, bounce back after our loss to Oklahoma, which I'm still mad about that, Justin, the way that our guys dropped the pass and then they ruled that an interception in the end zone.
yes,
So we're going to get to try to redeem ourselves, though, in the next game as we play Alabama. So another big game against a big-time opponent. We'll see. You do not lose this shutout.
well,
Come on.
I accidentally audibled into an all-out blitz there, which is not ideal. Yeah, I have 3 picks. We
All
need
right,
a,
Brian
we need a 4th.
Flores.
Yeah, exactly.
So what? Here, I'll pull up the. Dude, that was a touchdown too.
Yes.
You were going the other way. I'm gonna pull up the Penn State schedule, just to. I know we've talked about it last
Let's do
week.
it. Let's go on the record in March.
Are we gonna do this already?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh boy.
As of right
okay.
now.
All
With the right to revise.
Right. Yeah. As things change, huh? All right. So the 2024 football schedule. So we get our first look here in about a month. The blue and white game is April 13th. But then the real games start on Saturday, August 31st. Penn State goes to West Virginia. So Penn State
I'm
at
telling
West
you,
Virginia.
It scares me because everyone's gonna. I say everyone. A lot of Penn State fans are gonna count that as like an easy win, and
Right.
it's not gonna be an easy win.
No, it's not going to be an easy win.
Oh, my gosh.
You got to be kidding me. No, I do. I'm gonna say Penn State wins, but I'm not confident in that. But again, it's one of those opening game could set the tone.
Right.
Just like Wisconsin a few years ago, it felt like that was a springboard. And I know things cratered later, but
That was all due to injury, though.
right, exactly.
Do you want me to do this?
Yeah, you can do this for 20 seconds. It's
Oh
fine.
God.
Oh, onside kick. Call timeout. But then they've got at least 3 in a row, all at home, that
Yeah.
should be wins.
Yes.
September 7th, Bowling Green. You got to win that game. Cannot lose that game. So 2 weeks later, they have a bye already in or what would be their third game. The weekend of Saturday, September 14th, is Penn State's on a bye. Game 3 is September 21st.
They took a timeout, so I'm
Throw
running,
it deep.
I'm going to throw a Hail Mary. Yeah.
September 21st against Kent State. Got to win that game. Like that, unacceptable. You cannot lose to Bowling Green or Kent State.
Correct.
Probably shouldn't lose the next week against Illinois on Saturday, September 28th.
No, because at home too. Like,
Right, it's
no
at home.
excuse.
So I know Illinois and Indiana on the road can be dicey at times. They probably should
God.
also be really mad because the last time Illinois was in Beaver Stadium, we know what happened.
Right.
So, again, you got to be.
I hope Penn State scores 9 touchdowns and goes for 2 and converts 9 2-point conversions in that game. Can you imagine?
Then for the 4th straight game, they are at home, October 5th against UCLA. Now, I also say that should be a win.
Yeah.
I'm more confident in it than West Virginia because it's at home.
Right.
UCLA is traveling across the country. I would love for it to be a noon game, but I'm guessing it's going to be a 3:30.
Yeah, that would be great. Noon, yes.
But UCLA they have a new coach,
Right.
and I don't think they're the same.
Which is stupid. They should have kept Chip Kelly.
Well, Chip Kelly left.
I know, but they left because they were talking about firing him all season, and they just kept winning.
But to me, that has to be a win. So at worst, you're 4-1 after 5. Hopefully, you're 5-0. But you've done most of the damage at home. You probably got a road test against West Virginia, but everything else was done at home against inferior competition. Then things get ratcheted up a notch. After UCLA, the next weekend, Saturday, October 12th, Penn State goes to USC. I don't know what to think about USC now without Caleb Williams, but they're a team that always
score
recruits
a lot.
well.
They're going to be a big offensive team, but we better be able to score against them.
Right.
Although I know they went and changed their defensive stuff, but
Like to me, because it's a road game that far away, it's a toss-up because USC is a very good program. They maybe underachieved the last 2 seasons, but they could at any time explode. So that one's a toss-up. Then next week, 2 weeks later, they have their second bye the weekend of October 19th. Then they got to go to Wisconsin. And I think they're going to be better this year.
Yeah, they are. And he's going to start to be building his system there.
Right. So that's Fickle, right?
Yep.
So I'm worried about that. Then they got November 2nd, Ohio State, who seems to be this year's version of Michigan.
Yeah,
they loaded up both in the transfer portal and keeping guys that we thought were going to the NFL.
Yep.
Now, it is at Beaver Stadium. It'll, I guess, probably be a night game unless it's big noon on Fox, which actually probably is going to be big noon on Fox.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Unless there's some other crazy game that weekend, like Michigan USC or something like that. But I still think Ohio State, Penn State gets the nod there.
It has us at Marshall.
Oh, okay. Alabama's the next home game.
Okay.
So we'll play them probably our next game after this. So, yeah, because in the recruiting, I was doing visits for some prospects, and Alabama was the next option. But there's a road game at Marshall. So, okay, back to the real world, real football here. So after the Ohio State game at home, Washington comes to Beaver Stadium.
Right.
So after 5 basically must-win games to start the year, you now have, at best, 3 toss-ups and a loss. That's the way I look at it. At USC, at Wisconsin, versus Ohio State, versus Washington.
Yeah. So what do you think we are at that point?
If we go 5-0, I guess I would be bummed if we went anything worse than 3-1.
Yeah.
And if we're 4-1, I would be really upset if we went worse than 2-2.
Right.
So, as much as I want to win that Ohio State game, it's much more realistic, I think, to beat Wisconsin and USC than it is Ohio State.
I agree.
Washington is an interesting one to me because they lost a bunch. Penix and the receiver,
they lost
Dunzy.
a ton.
And obviously their coaches. They lost their head coach, is now the coach at Alabama. Their offensive coordinator went to Alabama and now is with the Seattle Seahawks. So it'll be interesting to see what the Huskies have. We get them at Penn State, which makes me, feel it's at a minimum a toss-up. I might feel better about the Washington game than the USC game at this moment.
Oh, absolutely, because it's just considering what they've lost, and then also it's at home.
Right, exactly. So I think I'm going to say through the Washington game, I would at a minimum you need to be 7-2.
Yep.
If you have a realistic chance of possibly squeaking into the Big Ten championship, but probably not, you have to be at least 7-2. Then they close with 3 must-win games, but of course 2 of them are on the road. The week after Washington, they go to Purdue on November 16th.
It's always tricky.
I'll have to ask Kelly if she wants to make a return trip.
There you go.
We saw Penn State Purdue back in October 2008. Then at Minnesota, which has been a little rough for Penn State of late, going to play the Gophers. That's November 23rd. That's the Saturday before Thanksgiving. And then Thanksgiving weekend, host Maryland. I feel like Maryland lost a lot, and they got to go to Beaver Stadium. I feel like that's a win. I feel like Purdue and Minnesota are wins too. I wouldn't classify them in the same area as USC and Wisconsin.
Right.
But again, they're also games that I feel like, especially if you're coming off a gauntlet and you are 2-2 after USC, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington, it's one of those things that I could see them losing to Purdue or Minnesota.
What you're telling me is you've seen teams
this season kind of get away from them.
Let one loss turn into multiple losses?
Yes, exactly. So, but I was at 7-2 before those final 3 games. Honestly, if they go worse than 10-2, I think people would really mad if they go 9-3.
Yeah, I see. I feel like people are gonna. I think more people are gonna pick them to go not get to 10 wins.
Because of the schedule and because of the unknowns with a few of those games?
I think people are going to pick us to lose to USC. I think people are going to pick us to lose to Ohio State. And then I think people are going to pick us to lose to
either Washington or Wisconsin.
Washington, Wisconsin, one of those two.
Yeah, it could be a great start to the season. Build up to, a 5-0 start would be fantastic. But, man, that October 12th through November 9th is just a gauntlet. At least there is a bye between the 2 road games, USC and Wisconsin. That helps a little bit, but definitely no favors were done.
No.
It's not since the expansion and the change of the schedule again, it's not a great home slate. I bet Adam's really mad. Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois. UCLA is an interesting
It's
one.
a really slow start,
I don't know if they've
which is tough
been
because
to Beaver Stadium. Has Penn State ever played UCLA? I don't know about the history between the two schools.
yeah, I don't know. They're
But I
driving
mean,
right
you do get Ohio State and Washington. You'll make your money back there if you're looking to sell tickets.
right.
Unfortunately, I wish the Minnesota and Maryland venues were switched. I wish Minnesota was at home before Thanksgiving and Maryland was away, because it's just tough to get the students there for
Yep.
those the Thanksgiving holiday break.
Well, that's what has to happen is you have to have that game mean something. You have to have that game be like,
Right.
all right,
Yeah. If they win, they go to the
we
Big
win,
Ten
we're going to the Big Ten
championship.
championship game. Then you'll get kids there. Maybe not crazy, but you'll get kids there.
All right. So I looked up Penn State's history against UCLA. They are 2-4. They're 1-2 at home, 1-2 on the road.
Oh my gosh.
The first game was in 1963. Penn State won 17-14. Their last all of these games were played in 6 years. There's basically 3 home and home agreements in the 60s. Penn State won at University Park 17-14 on September 28th, 1963. Then they lost the next 4 games in LA, in State College, in LA, at State College, 64, 65, 66, 67. They lost 21-14, 24-22. Then the only one that's a real outlier, they got hammered in 1966, 49-11. Then they lost by 2 points in 67. So Penn State hasn't hosted UCLA since October 7th, 1967. They haven't played a game since October 12th, 1968.
Wow. It's kind of crazy.
56 years?
Yeah, it's a long time. Especially considering Penn State was an independent for a long time.
Right,
So,
yeah.
They could schedule. Although, traveling cross country was
Not exactly
right an easy sell.
an easy, yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think 10-2 would be as much as I said we're at a spot where 10-2, but I think 10-2 would be a good regular season. And like you said, I think 10-2 with that schedule, I think that gets us in the playoffs.
Well, and 10-2, but they have to look good in those 2 losses.
Right. So a close loss to Ohio State.
And a close loss to whoever else you're going to, at USC.
And have that be good. So whether it's USC who's battling, or whether that's West Virginia who goes and is battling for the Big 12.
Right. Right. It's just, you can't have a bad loss. You need to lose. If you're going to lose 2 games, they better be 2 top 15 teams.
Right. You can't be one of Purdue's 4 wins.
Right. Exactly.
Or one of you lose to a 6-6 Minnesota. That's not going to get it done.
Yeah. No. I completely agree. So we'll see what happens. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic, but we didn't kind of say anything that I think's outlandish. You said maybe we actually were overrating them, which I feel like we don't do that often.
No.
You seem to have more confidence in the Eagles than you do anything else.
Well, then that's just
when it comes to the Phillies
and that is
or Penn
purely
State.
blind optimism. And you know what that is? It's not all that recent, but it's recency bias. They're the team that came through for me the most recently.
Right. They won a Super Bowl. They got back to another one.
And to be fair, they won a Super Bowl when it looked like they're going to win, and then the world came crashing down because their MVP quarterback got hurt, and it just looked like, well, now. And they won it anyway. So, that kind of, changed my mindset of, screw it. I'm just going to think they win,
Right. Yeah. So, we'll see.
But, yeah, the thing is, you look at it, a lot can change between now and that game in October, but, Ohio State on paper is better than Penn State.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just the reality of it. Now, that doesn't mean it happens. It's college football.
Well,
not even professional football. It's college football.
Right. And
Crazy
should Penn State
things
was
happen.
Penn State the better team on paper in 2016?
Right, exactly. No. So, you never know. And you get them in Penn State, which I think even ramps that up even more of the, who knows what will happen.
Right. So,
But I think a lot of that is set by the tone going into it. You know, if you go in thinking like, oh, we need a miracle. But if you go in thinking, hey, look, we're good. I know we might not be as good, but we get them here. Like, this is our shot. You know, like,
Right.
it's just a whole different feel. And a lot of that's going to come down to how do they play against West Virginia, for example. Because guess what? If they don't play well, if they lose to West Virginia, no one's going to care how bad they beat Bowling Green and Kent State.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't matter.
No one cares. No one cares. You know what I mean? And honestly, even if they beat West Virginia, but don't look dominant in doing so, and that's not a statement about North or West Virginia. West Virginia, everyone thought they should have fired their coach 2 years ago,
Right.
and then they held on to him. And man, did he
looked good
pay him
last
back
year.
last year? Yeah,
That one like end of game notwithstanding, I guess.
right, right. So like all of that aside, you look at it, and like if Penn State wins that convincingly, I still think people are going to be like, it's West Virginia. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. They need to probably beat USC in Game 6. Like that's the one that everyone's going to be paying
Right,
attention to.
right.
The first 5.
Now, if
no
they,
one's going to care
right,
about.
if they were to go 6-0 with that win against USC, I think 6, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, 5.
Yes.
USC would be 6,
Okay. If they were to go to 6-0 with a win at USC,
and West Virginia's like 4-1 or 5-1 or whatever.
yeah, then all of a sudden you're getting flexed to a bunch of the big time games. You know, like
and at 6-0 with a win over USC and a West Virginia team that's only lost to you, they're probably at least top 10, if not top 5.
Right.
Most likely, that would be
Right.
my guess.
you know, that's going to be where it starts to get really kind of crazy. But if you're 4-2 coming home from USC,
Yeah. They're fringe top 20 team.
right, with USC or with Ohio State still on the schedule,
Right.
not ideal.
No, not ideal. So, speaking of Ohio State a lot, Penn State finally brought in Julian Fleming. Took
Yeah.
4 years post high school, but he basically slots in as the number one wide receiver immediately, just because that room struggled so much this past year.
Yep.
Keandre Lambert-Smith looked good at times, but he disappeared at the end of the season. So Fleming comes in right away and is the guy. He had a great winter workout, and Penn State also got 2 really good cornerbacks, DBs, in the transfer portal.
Yes.
And after watching the bowl game, they definitely need them. A lot of good young talent, but just
Right.
not quite
They weren't ready
yet.
yet.
So to get those 2 guys, especially someone from Georgia and Florida, like those are good guys that you want to have to fill in some holes in the secondary. So I getting Tom Allen at DC is nice. Kotelnicki, I think a lot of people are happy about.
Yeah.
So I'm cautiously optimistic that the Penn State can win 10 regular season games.
I still look at it like, not that Indiana has put out like insanely good defenses, but they put out respectable defenses year after year with Indiana's talent, right? Like, say what you will about what Penn State lost on the defensive side. This will be the most talented defense Tom Allen has coached in a long time.
Right.
Like, like without a question.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Let me see. I know Penn State's played USC more than UCLA. I assume Penn State's played USC more than UCLA. 10 times. So, but the last
Didn't we play them in one of like those kickoff classics?
yes, and I was at it, and Penn State lost. It was August 27th, 2000. It was at Giants Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Penn State lost 29-5. My dad took me to that. I went with my aunt and uncle. It's when I found out, which song that you'd hear forever on the NCAA football games, which one was the USC one, because my aunt told me that I would hate it by the end of the game, and she was right, because it was like the only thing the band played. So watching them lose 29-5 sucked. Penn State actually hasn't beaten USC since 1996. That was also in the kickoff classic.
That's when I remember.
August 25th, 1996. Penn State beat USC 24-7. Penn State has not played them at home, technically, since 1991. Obviously, the Rose Bowl games in 2016 and 2008, both losses to USC, were technically neutral fields.
Right.
But Penn State hasn't played a regular season road game against USC since '91. Penn State lost that game 21-10. Penn State has actually never beaten USC on the West Coast.
Wow.
Penn State beat them at Giant Stadium in '96, at Beaver Stadium in '94 and '93, and those are the only 3 wins. They lost their first 4 games in 1922 was the first game. Actually, the Rose Bowl in 1923, the 22 season, the 23 Rose Bowl, January 1st, 14-3. Then lost in '82 in the bowl game on January 1st. Was that the Fiesta Bowl? It was in Tempe, Arizona.
Okay.
And then they played at USC in '90 and '91 and lost both those games before beating them the next 3 matches and now losing the last 3. So a lot of opportunities for Penn State first against USC this year. First road win against USC in a non-neutral facility, and first win against USC since '96.
That's awesome.
Hope it happens.
Yes.
Hope we can
Yes.
talk about it.
Yeah, I would love nothing more than that.
I'll have to look up Penn State's record against Washington after this. I don't know how often they've played. I know Penn State beat them just a few years ago in a bowl game.
Yeah, Fiesta Bowl.
Which was a high-scoring affair, but it was kind of a huge game for Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And
Saquon.
Yeah, because that was
farewell.
when I was like, Myles Gaskin, I don't like you. And then he ended up playing for the Dolphins for the next 5 years. Because Gaskins mocked Saquon's touchdown celebration.
In a
Penn
loss.
State ended up winning, so that's
in
all that
a
matters.
loss for the record. Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, so it ought to be interesting. I mean, I say what I will about I don't know what they've got. I'm still going to be ready for,
I think
college
Penn State's
football.
recruiting classes of the 5 years that matters at the moment, they're ranked high enough that as long as they develop talent and didn't lose anyone to injury or whatnot, like Landon Tangwall, but they should be a top 3 team in the Big Ten and probably at a minimum top 10 to 12
Right.
team in the nation.
Right.
Anything else would be a failure.
Well, even like last year, like the way last year went, it feels frustrating. Well, it was frustrating and everything, but they were the second best, or they were the 3rd best team in the Big Ten.
Right. Yeah, fairly confident in saying that.
Yeah. What scares me is Ohio State was good last year, and they got nothing from the quarterback position.
Right, yeah, and he transferred out.
Right. To Syracuse.
Yeah.
And he's Paul's problem now.
Alma mater of Larry Zonka.
Yeah.
I watched the NFL films
Who's
on the
that?
72.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
72 Miami Dolphins today while I was at work this morning. And it actually,
Were they good? I'm sorry.
I actually had never seen. I thought this is the one I had seen, but actually the ones I was watching was a Football Life on Don Shula.
Okay.
And obviously they talked about that a lot, but
Yeah.
today's was a Football Life on the 72 Dolphins.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And they filmed it during the 50th anniversary year in 2022. So Don Shula had passed away.
Oh, okay.
So actually a bunch of guys had passed away. It was mostly focused on Larry Little, Mercury Morris, Bob Greasy. and
This is
Larry
me
Zonka.
not being a jerk now. That was a long time ago now.
What's that? When Shula passed away, or this
No,
undefeated season?
No, undefeated season.
Yeah, 52 years.
Right.
Well, they mentioned them that they talk about that they're all getting up there. They're
Yeah.
all in their 70s.
Yeah.
So
It's like when you see some of those guys, you see pictures of some of those guys, and they look like they're 50 something, and was 28, and you're like, oh,
right. Yeah, different time.
yeah,
But it was cool. It was definitely fun to watch and listen. I knew most of the stuff that was said, but it's always cool because it always amazes me in sports. But I feel like the NFL films do such a good job with it.
yes,
All the audio and video that they have.
yes,
From the 60s and
yeah,
70s.
yeah,
It's amazing.
right. Anymore, it doesn't surprise me.
No, not at all.
Especially in an NFL game, if something happens and oh, we didn't have that, I'm like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. If they say, oh, we didn't catch this or we didn't, I don't believe it in an NFL game anymore. Like, if you were to tell me like 52 years ago that happened,
Right,
and,
yeah.
and like that's the crazy part, and they have still so much good footage and everything.
Well,
And that's before. Listen, like that's before the NFL was what it is.
right.
You know, like
Well, yeah, the guys talk about
if it was so big back then, it would still make sense, and it was big, but it was not what it was. It's not what it is now. Like, when did they stop showing games on like tape delay? You know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, one of the football lives I watched, I don't know if it was the Don Shula one or if it was something else on one of the older Dolphins teams, but they talk about like football was a part-time job.
yeah,
Like it's almost like kind of what for a long time minor league baseball players like
right. Yes,
that was a part-time job. It's I think that's changed now that
It,
they
it has
got a
it has
different
moved
contract.
it has moved a little bit more away from that. Yeah,
But like that's what the NFL was.
Right.
They sold cars and
Right.
and they were in finance and their job as a pro football player was a part-time thing that they only did, from the end of August through, if they were lucky, mid-January.
right.
And they were like that's where the origin of training camp came, because none of them were in shape.
Right, and they were off working their other jobs.
Right. Wild how different it's
Yes.
come as we talk about Baker Mayfield signing a $100 million contract
Baker
today.
Mayfield.
Georgia lost. Number 6 seed Georgia lost. I'm leaving you out on an island for a second here because I wanted to grab this.
That's fine.
So, let's see. Oh, God, no.
I was putting up a clock yesterday after I'd taken it down to change the time and put my fingers through the glass face of the clock. Yeah, there was glass everywhere,
Was there also blood everywhere?
including stuck to my arms that I was finding an hour later.
Jeez, that's
Yeah,
not good.
it was not ideal.
No, doesn't sound like it.
Amazingly, no blood.
Wow.
Now, it did, like, my hands felt really weird last night. They felt like there were little cuts all over them, but, like, it was not bleeding.
Almost like if you rub your hands on the not plexiglass.
Yes.
Not plexiglass.
No,
though.
but, like, the insulation with the plexiglass in it
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
It felt a lot like that. Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna before I finish the stuff about the
Sorry.
Dolphins, I'm gonna jump back to Penn State football history against Washington. So they've actually only played 3 times.
Okay.
And the most recent was
come
in the
on.
Fiesta Bowl in 2017, which Penn State won 35-28. Before that, their last time was in 1983, which also had to be a bowl game in Hawaii.
Oh, man.
Penn State won 13-10. Then the first ever matchup was in 1921 in Seattle. Penn State won 21-7. So Penn State is 3-0 against Washington, and their games have been separated by 62 years and 34 years.
So here's the thing. I don't dislike. So after the Fiesta Bowl, I did not really care for Washington a lot because of the Myles Gaskin thing, like you said.
Yeah,
It's not
frustrating.
that big of a deal. It just annoyed me. But I read Boys in the Boat, and I really liked it. It's based off of the crew team from Washington. So that team was cool. But the rest of them,
Yeah.
whatever.
So,
My gosh.
yeah, okay. So I'm going to redirect now and go back to the 72 Dolphins as we finish up or get close to finishing up this game here against Marshall.
need to
Hopefully
stop.
holding on to it for a win. But I think I said something about this to my dad, and I believe I showed you, and I've had these now for a few years, but trading cards have gotten ridiculous over the last
Yes.
4 or 5 years. Like the pandemic really shot things into the stratosphere. And I got back into card collecting. I haven't done much over the last year and a half or so, but I was shocked to see, autographs are a huge thing, especially on-card autographs. Getting those of modern players, basically starting back in 2017 with Mahomes and all the quarterback prospects since, getting those before they bomb, like, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, because that stuff's not worth anything anymore. But when you're doing the prospecting and thinking they're going to be possibly the next Mahomes or Brady, they're worth a lot. But you can get a lot of other veteran autographs or, long time ago players, retired players for not that much. Like I have this, I got to pull up my camera. I'm about to say I have this card and show it, and the video is only on you, Justin. So I got to see if I can pull that up with with me in frame as well. Let's see if I can do that. See if I'm smart enough to do this on the fly. I may or may not be. So, but I have a few from the 72 Dolphins. That's the whole point of this, which is I thought it was really cool being able to put this together, and I'm glad I have it. And I feel like I've shown these to you before, but maybe I haven't. I don't recall. But let's get the game in the window here, Joey. Here we go. I think I'm just about there. Okay, yeah, let's try this. All right. Okay, yeah, there's me and there's Justin Gaming, so no one can cry about us, not being on stream. So I have this one, Bob Greasy, on-card auto,
that's
Hall of
awesome.
Fame card.
Wait, on-card auto.
On-card auto. These are all on-card.
Nice.
I have Dick Anderson, Dolphin safety, on-card auto.
Oh, my gosh.
This one specifically from Super Bowl cards so this one's Super Bowl 8. It's a black and white photo, but chrome version. Mercury Morris, who my uncle does not like. I told my dad today when we were watching the documentary on the 72 Dolphins, I said, my Uncle Rich hates Mercury Morris.
Wow. Should
Then-
I use my timeouts to save time for you? Wait, they may have used one here. No, they
No,
didn't.
that's fine. Just let it go.
Okay.
Then Larry Little. This is a Super Bowl 7. So this one's actually from the undefeated season. Larry Little, again, on-card auto. Then this one also from Super Bowl 7. It's not a refractor or chrome card, but it's Jim Kick, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. Actually, just like 5 weeks after Don Shula passed away, Jim Kick passed away. And then the last one here is the NFL 100 celebration. Again, another on-card auto of Paul Warfield. So that is my collection of 70s Dolphins. I remember telling you about the Bob Greasy one because I was like,
Yes.
you'll never believe what I just got for like $30. It actually might have been in the 20s even. I was like an on-card autograph of Bob Greasy.
4th and goal, by the way. They only have one timeout, so if we...
So card collecting can be really fun, and especially if you can get stuff that you're really excited about and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Because obviously everyone wants the on-card auto of Tom Brady in his rookie season because those go for, hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe even pushing millions. I'm not sure. Same thing with like the Mahomes stuff now.
Yeah.
But like things like this that don't
No,
cost
that's
a lot
awesome.
of money,
That's awesome.
they're fun. I actually have one more up there from the NFL 100, but it's of Dwight Stevenson and he played in the 80s. Yeah. So I didn't,
No, that's really cool. I got to stop in part because they threw on 4th and goal. They threw to the 6-yard line, and I rallied and made the tackle.
We playing the Jets?
So I was going to say, unfortunately, I feel like too many teams I have a rooting interest in have done similar things over the years.
Right.
So, but yeah, we were able to get back in the win column there.
Double win column, and now we're set for a showdown next week against Alabama.
But Marshall always is a tough matchup for us.
Yeah, they do.
Every
Remember
time.
those first few seasons, we struggled against like teams that you're like, why?
They were 0-3. They were 0-3 coming into this game.
Huh. Well, 44 seconds. Hopefully we can hold on. They have one timeout, so one first down ends the game. So let's get that. Oh boy, you missed. Thanks for the block. Well, they just made it infinitely more tough on me. Well, actually, I guess we don't even need a first down. Just need to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, just this play should do it. Thank goodness.
I was going to say, screw it, I'm going to throw it deep with no time left, but that's when they would pick it off and return it for a touchdown.
Right. Never a doubt.
No, never a down. So, any closing thoughts on Penn State or college football, the playoff opponents, anything like that? Is Ohio State the betting favorite, odds-on favorite to you to win the Big Ten?
If they do not win the Big Ten,
Ryan
Day
Day's
gets
fired. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we said that last week, but yep, you're definitely. I think we're right on the money there.
Honestly, hear me out. If they were to win the Big Ten with one loss, but that one loss is to Michigan, right?
Yeah.
and
but so did,
and still make the playoff, but lose in their first playoff game. Even
Ooh.
let's say they beat Michigan, but Michigan has like maybe 2 or 3 losses, right? Or sorry, they lose to Michigan, but like so Michigan isn't in the Big Ten championship game, but they lose to Michigan in the regular season,
Yeah.
right? They still make the playoff. Let's say they get in as the 4, like that's their only loss in the regular season and Big Ten championship game.
who do they beat in the Big Ten championship?
Let's say USC. I'm just someone else,
Okay.
right? Or Penn State. Okay.
Good.
Twice. That would stink.
Oh yeah.
So we'll go with USC. And then let's say they get the 4 seed or whatever's going to be the last bye,
Yeah.
and they lose their first round matchup, right?
Which would be probably
So,
it could be against the 5 seed.
He would still get fired.
yeah.
He would still get fired. Because they're going to have it's going to be a reset after this year. Now, you can do that really quickly in college football anymore, but it'll be interesting to kind of see how it plays out. But yeah, there's a lot on the line for Ohio State this year.
Do we know? Have they announced it? What the tie-breaking procedures are for the Big Ten now without divisions?
I believe they have, but I think it's just the highest 2 ranked teams.
So like if Ohio State's undefeated, at least in Big Ten play, they go.
Yeah.
But what if there's 2 or 3 teams that have 1 loss?
Right, and not everybody plays each other. But
right.
I think it just goes to the highest ranked,
The
next
highest ranked in the
team.
poll then?
Yep.
The AP poll?
My guess is the college football playoff poll.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That would make the most sense. Yes. Oh boy, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So next week, we're trying to get our bracket challenge winner from March Madness last year on the show. He's had a busy schedule. Basketball just finished. He actually was doing a basketball thing tonight. We were going to possibly have him on the show. He couldn't make it. We're going to talk to him about maybe joining us next week. But we'll get him on soon. Kevin Quimby, he's a Wilson assistant basketball coach. And he earned the right to come on the show. And we thought it would be great since he's a big basketball guy coming on for March Madness here, which will be fun. I feel like every year I say I know very little about college basketball, and I feel like this year is even worse than normal.
Gosh.
For me, like in terms of knowing what's been going on. So it'd be nice to have someone with much more knowledge about the sport right now. I feel like I've heard more about Caitlin Clark and the women's
Yeah.
than I did about any of the men's team. And honestly, the only reason I know that UConn is really good is because of Chris Gross
Right. I agree.
on Twitter, following him since when he left Penn State to go back home to work with his alma mater at UConn.
You're just a closet UConn fan.
God, yeah, you know me.
See, I feel like me making jokes about the 72 Dolphins, me making jokes about Bob Greasy, like that you just take in stride.
It's been a banner
You draw
night for you.
you draw the line when I
Banner
joke
night.
about you liking UConn.
Yeah, so but that's what we're going to talk about next week. College basketball, and if we're not joined by Kevin, it's just us talking college basketball. It might get dicey. We might have to shift somewhere, but the brackets will be out because I believe they start being debuted at 6.
Yeah.
Oh, but we're starting. Oh, that's what we had to say. Our show from here on out indefinitely will be starting at 6:30 in the evening instead of 8:30. When Justin and I started the show, we used to do the show at 6:30 on Sundays, and then when we both became parents, it got tough because that dinner time and because the kids were so young, also bedtime. So we eventually moved it back to 8:30, and we're like, well, now all the NFL games will be over. We'll catch the beginning of this. It works out well, but now the kids' bedtimes have been moved back to when we're about to start the show here. And the show gets over pretty late for us having to get up for work on Monday morning. So we're just like, well, maybe we move back to our original time.
See how it goes.
So the business cards I bought 12 years ago are now accurate again to hand
I might
out.
still
So
have one in my wallet.
I need to bring some of those and put them out at the shop so maybe more people can join us. Actually, it was a very well-received show tonight. We actually have a bunch of viewers watching. We normally only have not even a full handful watching live. We get much more.
Whammy.
Wow, you got
you
that.
stream,
Oh,
baby.
do I have your camera up? Let me see. Yeah, hold that up again. Yeah, there we go. It's focusing on it. Bring it even closer. There it is. Sundays at 6:30. Does it still say?
It says
Blog
Ustream.
Talk Radio on Ustream. Wow. Yeah. So at least the time will be accurate again. We haven't been on
the old call-in number.
Oh man, Those are the days. I can't believe we've been doing this for 13 years. But the only other thing I want to say, Justin, is
Cards held up well.
I don't know if it's congratulations is right, but my niece was baptized today.
Yeah.
Which was great to be at church with family and friends to celebrate that. We had a nice luncheon afterwards, and happy belated birthday to my Uncle Dennis, celebrating a few days ago. Shout out to my Uncle Rich as always. If he's not watching live, hopefully he'll catch this after the fact, and he'll tell me how much he hates Mercury Morris.
Right, but very few Patriots shots today.
Yeah, they're not relevant.
We made fun of the
now,
Jets.
so. Mac Jones no longer their quarterback. Traded to the Jaguars.
Interesting. He's probably going to compete for the
he's
starting job.
He's going to beat out Trevor Lawrence for sure. Well, I mean, just like Caleb Williams, not a generational talent.
Oh my gosh.
We're just burning things down at the end of the show. But yeah, so 6:30 next week, March Madness. So actually, we'll be broadcasting as that's being revealed, right? Or do they
Possibly,
do it like
I don't
at
know.
the very?
I don't know,
well,
dude.
We're starting a half an hour into the reveal on
Right.
CBS, so
Right.
we may have the full
So I
bracket.
think we'll probably have two. We'll probably have one side. It'll
Okay,
probably
so
be
we'll have
happening
half
while
of
we're
the
doing
bracket.
it. Yeah.
So we'll pull that up and talk about it live, and then obviously we'll be running the March Madness bracket challenge through ESPN, so you can join that and win a chance to appear with us on the show and talk sports, which is what we want to get Kevin Quimby on to do here very soon. We'll also be playing college football though while we do it, and games. What is that? 4 and 5 are on deck, and then the following week, the 24th, we will be doing our MLB preview. Because that like 4 days later, I almost said Wilson, and then I almost said Penn State. The Phillies and the Braves will kick off things on March 28th. So
Yeah.
kick off things for the Phillies. Now I know there's an international series, or like actually it might be almost a week ahead of.
It usually is. Yeah.
So I think it's like March 20th or 21st. Will be the international
Separate from the
series.
Phillies playing in London this summer.
Right, which will be pretty cool. That's in like mid to late
it's-
June or early June.
Yeah, I think it's like late June. I thought.
Okay. So a lot of things to look forward to, and we're excited to bring them to you, and hopefully you'll join us as often as possible. I think that was everything.
Sounds good to
I hope
me.
I covered everything. Yeah. So until next week at 6:30 on Sunday, March 17th. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. Episode 396 is over. So for Justin Raffauf, I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next Sunday.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as The Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.